Today I'm going to be comparing several products to see which one does the best looking rust streaks on terrain. Hey guys, welcome back to Blackmagic Craft. On this Reviews Day Tuesday, I'm setting out to see which product out of the things that are in my arsenal of supplies is the best for doing rust streaks on terrain like concrete. In my upcoming Friday video, the thing that I built last week, I ended up needing some rust effects, and I kind of played around with a few different things and I landed on one that I liked the best. And rather that being kind of just a little aside in that video, I figured it warranted its own dedicated review testing video where I could show you several different items you can use to achieve streaking rust stains and see which one I liked the best, which I kind of already know because it's the one that I used on that build. But I did come to some surprises in this test because I tried something that I didn't try during the build and it was pretty good. I'm only going to be testing products that I already own and have in my collection. I'm going to say there's probably hundreds of products out there that are meant for doing rust effects on model kits and various things, and I just have a couple of them, and some of them aren't actually intended for this, but I thought they might work. So this test is comparing things that I already owned. There's probably a really awesome product out there that I don't own, and if there's something that you use and you love and you think it's way better than anything I tested here, feel free to let everybody know in the comments and me, because I'm always looking for a better option. With all of that said, let's sit down and take a look at how these different products compare. All right, let's start laying down some of these effects. The first thing I'm gonna try here is this Vallejo diesel stain weathering effect. And I have a whole bunch of these weathering effects by Vallejo, but this is the only one that really looked like it might work for rust, the only one that was an appropriate color. I have lots of these weathering effects, but I don't know if I have them all. They may actually have a specific rust one that is better suited. Color of this looks about right for rust. My concern is that it may be too thin. I'm trying to do streaks. Yeah, this stuff is very, very thinned. I don't know, almost barely see the color. And if I wanted to keep it into thin, really narrow strips, I don't know if it's gonna work. I don't think this is pigmented enough for this purpose. Doing a couple where I smeared it out after, and I'll do these two where I just leave them. I mean, it kind of works. It's very, very, very subtle. Next, I want to actually try using this Citadel Sepia wash. I don't know if it's going to work or if the color is going to be right for this application, but it's worth a shot since it's something that's sitting around here. The pigment of this should be stronger than it was on this Vallejo, I think. Yeah, see, this is showing up a lot darker, which is kind of what you want. When doing rust effects, a good technique is to put on a very narrow drip and then use like a wider frayed brush to streak it down even further. Not as strong as I would like, but actually pretty decent for something that most people probably already have if they're doing a lot of mini painting. Now we're getting into some more unusual product here. This is a pigment from Green Stuff World, and this is just a powder. It can be used for all sorts of different weathering effects. The color is really, really good for rust. So I'm gonna try a few different ways to apply this here because this is a powder. So, you know, I have to find a way to apply it so that it will stick and be liquid. So the first thing I'm gonna try is this pigment fixer that they sell. This is a glue, and I don't really think this is what it's meant to be used for. in this way, but I'm gonna try mixing some of this together to create an actual paint and see if this works. I think this pigment is gonna be very strong. Yeah, see, I just put a tiny little bit in there. We'll try that out. Yeah, that looks pretty good. That looks pretty decent. I like that. The pigment is very strong. Obviously, you can control it by how much you mix. The color is pretty good, but I'm not sure actually if the color is totally right. It is fairly orange, which I'm not sure if that's ideal. I want to try something else here. I want to try doing the same thing, but with some Pledge to see if I can get similar results. This is just Pledge Floor Shine, which is a great liquid to use to make quick washes. My reasoning for testing this out is that if maybe this ends up being an ideal candidate to see if there's a way to do this without also buying the pigment. So this is definitely more runny. I can already see immediately it's not acting as rich. It's working pretty good, but what's interesting is that it's going on a lot more translucent than it did with the fixer. Even though if you look at my mix here, I don't know if you can tell on camera, but the Pledge mix is actually a lot darker in color. I have more pigment in it, but it's applying less noticeably, like it's more translucent, which is very interesting. More pigment is more translucent with the different liquids. So kind of works, but I'm not in love with it. Now I'm gonna try this one here. This is something I've had in my collection for quite a while. It's from Mission Models. It's an airbrush transparent light rust, but you can absolutely use this brushed on. Looks very similar in the palette to the Green Stuff World, except it's a little bit more brown than red, and I think that's a little bit better because you look here, I actually like these colors slightly better than these ones, and this one's kind of in the middle, and I can tell by looking at this that this is already looking more like a paint than a wash. So even just with the brush strokes like that, it looks pretty good, feathered out. Yeah. Without question, this is the best looking one. And I kind of already knew this because I've kind of run through some of these when I was building the project that is going to be in this Friday's video. This is the one that I ended up going with and using. I really like the way it looks. It's got the color right, it blends nicely, and I can apply it in very thin little streaks and it's still visible. None of the other ones allow me to do tiny little micro streaks that well. Like if I go back the Green Stuff World with the fixer, it might allow me to a little bit, but no, see, it's just too thin. And I suppose I can add a lot more pigment. Let's go back and add a lot more pigment to this to give it a fighting chance. Oh, you know what? There we go. Adding more pigment. I think that's pretty good, actually. But the color I'm not quite sold on. I feel like the color is too terracotta. It's a subtle difference, but rust has a little bit of brown and orange in it. Of the lot there, the Mission Model one is absolutely my favorite. Now, because I know some people are not going to want to buy any of this stuff, let's see if we can make a decent looking rust stain with just more regular stuff on hand. So I'm going to use some of this Pledge Floor Shine, which is something that I think everybody should keep on hand if they're doing mini painting. It's really handy. Now let's just mix in some regular acrylic model paints. Can you guys hear that crazy thunder? It's shaking my whole friggin' house. We're gonna try mixing in some of this Vallejo rust color. Now that is definitely too orange. I'm gonna try to hit that kind of tone. So I'm gonna add a little bit more of this parasite brown. Maybe I should add a darker brown. I definitely need a darker brown. Give this a try and see how this looks. I don't think I got the color quite right, but I want to see. It's not bad, actually. You know, that's pretty good. That is pretty darn good, actually. I'm totally impressed. I didn't think the color would be right. I thought I would need to add some more red, but this is totally serviceable. Wow, not bad at all. Homemade. So there we have 5 different, well, 5.5 different versions. Obviously, there's way more things that you can try, different products you can get a hold of. But from what I had on hand, I think the Vallejo weathering effects is not a great option. I don't think that's what this is intended for, though. I think this is meant more as for a wash to cover over greebled textured model kits. I don't think it's right for this. The pigment is just not strong enough. Then the Citadel Sepia, the Seraphim Sepia. I think this worked okay. It might be a little too brown and not red enough and not quite heavily pigmented enough, but it kind of works. And if it's all you have on hand, I think it's an okay option. The Green Stuff World pigment, you know what? The color's just not quite right. Again, that's not really what this is intended for, I don't think. I'm not that into the color of that. Then there is the Mission Models light rust or transparent light rust, and I think this works absolutely brilliantly out of the bottle. This is what I used on the project that I built last week that you guys will see on Friday. This is going to be my go-to because I have it, I love it. I don't know how easy it is to get a hold of. It works really, really well. What's quite pleasing and worked out better than I thought was just making my own with some acrylic model paint and some Pledge floor polish. This looks pretty darn similar to the Mission Models one, and it applied very similar. That was my first attempt at getting the color right. Obviously, you can experiment and I think achieve pretty great results using just the model paint you already have and some floor polish. That's pretty darn good. Lots of options. I hope this was helpful for you guys. I will put links to the Mission Model one if I can find it. I actually don't know if it's available on Amazon. I got it in a loot box. I don't know this company too well. I don't have any association with them. I will put a link to it on Amazon if it's on there. If not, well, you might have to find it online somewhere else. And hey, like I said, you can make your own and it's pretty darn decent looking. Hope you guys found this video helpful, informative. If you did, hit the like button. Let me know in the comments section below. Ooh, can you hear that thunder? It is thundering like crazy outside. That's it for this week, guys. I will see you again on Friday when I actually put this to use in a build that turned out really awesome and I'm really happy about. So stay tuned for that. See you guys on Friday. Cheers.